world would not be the same. Few people laughed, few people cried, most people were silent. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Perhaps the greatest physicist in history is J. Robert Oppenheimer. Despite not receiving a Nobel Prize, he had a greater impact on the world than most recipients of the honor. The greatest physicists of the 20th century worked under his direction to build the atomic bomb, which altered the path of history forever. This civilization might collapse in the event of another world war. Since the end of World War II, he has had an impact on every war fought and every peace agreement reached. In addition, he made it possible for humanity to end itself. How did one man come to hold the power to destroy entire cities? What does it say about humanity that such power was created? Julius Robert Oppenheimer was born on April 22, 1904, in New York City, into a family steeped in culture and intellectual pursuit. His father, Julius Oppenheimer, was a successful textile importer, while his mother, Ella Friedman, was an accomplished artist. Raised in an environment that valued education and creativity, young Robert was exposed early to ideas and disciplines that would later fuel his groundbreaking work. From a young age, Oppenheimer displayed an extraordinary. By the age of 12, he was subjects, such as ancient Greek philosophy, and reading texts in their original language. His sharp intellect and deep curiosity distinguished him from his peers, making it clear that he was destined for exceptional achievements. Oppenheimer attended the Ethical Culture School in New York, excelling in his studies before moving on to Harvard University. Initially focused on chemistry, he soon shifted his attention to the emerging field of theoretical physics, graduating summa cum laude in just 3 years. His academic journey then took him to the University of Cambridge, where he studied under J.J. Thomson, and later to the University of Göttingen in Germany. There, he worked with Max Born and completed his PhD in 1927, contributing significantly to quantum mechanics at just 23 years old. How did Oppenheimer's early academic success shape his future? The 1930s were a turbulent period, marked by political upheaval and rapid scientific advancements. As the world teetered on the edge of war, Oppenheimer's research began to intersect with global concerns. Initially focused on cosmic rays and quantum electrodynamics, his trajectory shifted dramatically following the 1938 discovery of nuclear fission by German scientists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann. The potential to unleash atomic energy for weapons was clear, sparking an international race to develop the atomic bomb. In 1942, the US government initiated the Manhattan Project, a secret endeavor to build the bomb. General Leslie Groves recognized Oppenheimer as the ideal candidate to lead the scientific effort, despite his limited administrative experience. Oppenheimer's intellect, visionary thinking, and ability to inspire collaboration made him indispensable. Under his leadership, Los Alamos, New Mexico, became the hub of the project. Here, Oppenheimer assembled a team of brilliant minds, including Enrico Fermi, Niels Bohr, and Richard Feynman. Despite immense pressures, Oppenheimer's leadership was defined by scientific rigor and a profound sense of responsibility. His vision and determination were crucial in driving the project to completion, even as the ethical and moral implications weighed heavily on him. What were the stakes of the Manhattan Project, and how did Oppenheimer manage the pressure? The culmination of years of intense work came on July 16, 1945, in the deserts of New Mexico. The Trinity test, as it was known, was the world's first successful detonation of an atomic bomb. As the device exploded with a blinding flash of light and a deafening roar, the landscape was forever altered, and so too was the course of human history. Oppenheimer, standing with his colleagues and watching the terrifying beauty of the explosion, is said to have quoted the Bhagavad Gita, an ancient Hindu scripture. "Now I have become death, the destroyer of worlds." This haunting line has since become synonymous with Oppenheimer and the moral complexities of the atomic age. For Oppenheimer, the success of the Trinity test was a moment of both triumph and terror. On one hand, it validated years of hard work and scientific innovation, proving that they had succeeded in creating a weapon of unprecedented power. On the other hand, it marked the beginning of a new and terrifying era, one in which the very existence of humanity could be threatened by the weapons he had helped to create. In the aftermath of World War II, Oppenheimer emerged as a leading voice in the debate over the future of nuclear weapons. He was acutely aware of the potential for these weapons to bring about unprecedented destruction and became a vocal advocate for international control and regulation of nuclear technology. Oppenheimer's moral concerns were not merely academic. He was deeply affected by the suffering caused by the bombs in Japan and the knowledge that he had played a key role in creating such a devastating force. He feared that without proper oversight, the world could be plunged into a new and even more catastrophic conflict. In 1946, Oppenheimer became the chairman of the General Advisory Committee, GAC, of the Atomic Energy Commission, AEC. In this role, he advised on matters related to nuclear policy and the development of atomic energy. One of the most significant issues he faced during this time was the debate over the development of the hydrogen bomb, a weapon even more powerful than the atomic bombs dropped on Japan. Oppenheimer was staunchly opposed to the development of the hydrogen bomb, arguing that its creation would lead to an arms race with devastating consequences. He believed that the United States should focus on achieving international agreements to limit the proliferation of nuclear weapons, rather than developing even more destructive capabilities. However, Oppenheimer's stance put him at odds with powerful figures within the U.S. government and military. His opposition to the hydrogen bomb was seen as a threat to national security by some, particularly in the context of the rising tensions of the Cold War. Moreover, his earlier associations with left-wing political groups and individuals, including communist sympathizers, made him a target during the Red Scare. Oppenheimer's growing influence and his outspoken views on nuclear policy eventually led to his downfall. In 1954, he was called before a security hearing by the U.S. government to assess his loyalty to the nation. This hearing, which was part of a broader effort to root out communist influence in American institutions, would have far-reaching consequences for Oppenheimer's career and legacy. The hearing was a highly publicized and politically charged event. Oppenheimer was accused of being a security risk, largely due to his past associations and his opposition to the hydrogen bomb. The proceedings were marked by intense scrutiny of his personal and professional life, with witnesses called to testify about his political affiliations and actions during the Manhattan Project. Despite the lack of concrete evidence against him, Oppenheimer was ultimately stripped of his security clearance, effectively ending his career as a government advisor on nuclear policy. The decision was widely seen as a political maneuver to silence a prominent critic of the arms race and the growing influence of the military-industrial complex. Was Oppenheimer a victim of political paranoia, or did his past associations justify the government's actions? Oppenheimer's fall from grace was a profound blow to the scientific community, which had long revered him as a visionary leader. Many of his colleagues viewed the hearing as a travesty of justice, a witch hunt driven by fear and paranoia rather than genuine concerns about national security. For Oppenheimer himself, the experience was deeply traumatic, leaving him disillusioned and isolated. In the years following the hearing, Oppenheimer retreated from public life, spending much of his time at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, where he had been the director since 1947. Despite his reduced public role, he continued to reflect on the moral and ethical implications of his work, often expressing deep ambivalence about the legacy of the atomic bomb. What does Oppenheimer's story teach us about the responsibilities of scientists and the ethical challenges they face? Oppenheimer's story is one of brilliance and tragedy, of a man who changed the course of history but was ultimately consumed by the consequences of his actions. He remains a symbol of the complex relationship between science and society, a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge can lead to both great progress and great peril. In the years since his death in 1967, Oppenheimer's legacy has been the subject of ongoing debate. Some view him as a hero, a brilliant mind who helped end a brutal war and set the stage for the scientific advances of the 20th century. Others see him as a cautionary tale, a man whose genius was overshadowed by the devastating impact of his creations. Today, as we grapple with the challenges of a new era, one in which technology continues to shape our world in ways both profound and unpredictable, Oppenheimer's story serves as a powerful reminder of the responsibilities that come with scientific discovery. It is a story that asks us to consider not only what we can do with our knowledge, but what we should do, and how we can ensure that our pursuit of progress is guided by a commitment to the greater good. As we look back on the life of J. Robert Oppenheimer, we are left with more questions than answers. How should we remember a man who brought both light and darkness into the world? Can we separate his scientific genius from the moral implications of his work? And what lessons can we learn from his story as we navigate the challenges of our own time? Oppenheimer's legacy is complex, and perhaps that is fitting. After all, he was a man who understood better than most the duality of human nature, the capacity for both creation and destruction, for knowledge and ignorance, for hope and despair. So what do you think? Is Oppenheimer a hero or a tragic figure, or perhaps both? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Maybe it helped him not being poor, but he still built his own businesses. Right? Well, it's certainly true that he co-founded a number of companies, but this wouldn't have started without a $28,000 investment from his father.
When you hear the name Elon Musk, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it the shiny Tesla speeding down the freeway, or the powerful Falcon 9 rocket launching into space? Maybe it's his chaotic tweets, or perhaps his bold claim of wanting to colonize Mars. Elon Musk has many faces: genius entrepreneur, troll, visionary, or even villain. But here's the question that often goes overlooked. Who is Elon Musk really? Musk isn't just your average tech billionaire. He's an enigma, someone who has risen to fame by defying norms, breaking down barriers, and often causing a bit of chaos. Some people absolutely idolize him, and others, well, they think he's a problem, a really big problem. Today, we're diving deep to uncover the truth about Musk, the good, the bad, and the bizarre. And to do that, we need to pull back the curtain on not just the man himself, but the impact he has on all of us, especially when it comes to the technology we rely on every single day. Elon Musk's story begins in Pretoria, South Africa, where he was born in 1971 to a Canadian mother and a South African father. Musk was different from the start. He was that kid who got lost in his own world, preferring books over playgrounds and spending hours on end reading science fiction and adventure novels. By the time he was 12, Musk wasn't just playing video games, he was creating them. He coded his own video game called Blaster and sold it for $500. That's right, Musk was already making his mark before most kids knew how to ride a bike. But growing up wasn't all smooth sailing. Musk has spoken about how tough his childhood was. He was bullied in school, to the point where he once ended up hospitalized. These early experiences shaped Musk's drive for independence and control over his own destiny. He has said, "I was basically just a punching bag." It wasn't long before he left South Africa, moving to Canada, and then to the US, where he studied at the University of Pennsylvania. By the time he graduated with degrees in physics and economics, Musk had already developed a vision of a future where humanity wasn't bound by Earth or even traditional limitations. Musk's early business ventures were just the start of his climb. He first struck gold with Zip2, a software company that helped newspapers develop online city guides. When it sold for nearly $300 million, Musk had the funds to dive into bigger projects. And that's where PayPal came into the picture. While Musk didn't create PayPal, he played a huge role in its development after merging his company, X.com, with the digital payment giant. When PayPal was sold to eBay, Musk walked away with $165 million, and he didn't waste a second before using that money to take his ambitions to a whole new level. What makes Musk different from other billionaires is that he doesn't just see businesses as a way to make money. He sees them as vehicles to change the world. That's where Tesla, SpaceX, and SolarCity come in. Musk didn't found Tesla, but he became its most well-known figurehead and CEO. His goal? To revolutionize the car industry with electric vehicles. And for SpaceX, the goal was even more out of this world, literally. Musk wanted to colonize Mars, ensuring that humanity could continue even if Earth became uninhabitable. That sounds amazing, right? A man using his wealth to help humanity? Well, not everyone sees it that way. While Musk has certainly made groundbreaking contributions to technology, his methods have sparked plenty of criticism. For example, Musk's leadership style at Tesla has been described as volatile. Reports of harsh working conditions, unrealistic production goals, and high employee turnover paint a picture of a man who demands the impossible from his workers, sometimes at their expense. Tesla factory workers have come forward to describe grueling hours, the pressure to meet nearly impossible production goals, and a lack of concern for worker safety. These issues aren't just a reflection of Musk's desire for perfection, but also of his need for control. As Musk himself once said, "I expect people to work super hard, not because I'm cracking the whip, but because I believe in what we're doing." But for many, this belief in the mission comes at too high a cost. But what really starts to cause problems is Musk's behavior outside the boardroom, especially when it comes to Twitter. Elon Musk on Twitter is like a train with no brakes. Whether it's calling someone a pedo guy during the Thai cave rescue, spreading misinformation, or making off-the-cuff statements that send Tesla stock tumbling, Musk's tweets have become notorious for causing chaos. In fact, his infamous tweet in 2018 claiming he had funding secured to take Tesla private at $420 a share got him into serious legal trouble with the SEC. He was fined millions of dollars and for a time was forced to step down as Tesla's chairman. But it doesn't stop there. Musk's influence extends far beyond his companies. Take the WhatsApp controversy, for instance. In early 2021, when WhatsApp announced changes to its privacy policy, millions of users worldwide were confused and concerned about how their data would be handled. Many were looking for an alternative, and who stepped in to offer his advice? None other than Elon Musk. With a single tweet, Musk urged his followers to ditch WhatsApp and use Signal, a rival encrypted messaging app. That one tweet caused a massive spike in Signal downloads, proving just how much power Musk holds over public opinion and technology trends. On the surface, this might seem like Musk was simply advocating for better privacy, right? But here's where the problem starts. Musk's ability to sway the tech landscape with a single tweet showcases the potential dangers of having one man hold so much influence. His endorsement of Signal caused a ripple effect in the tech world as companies and users began reevaluating their choice of messaging apps. Musk's words have the ability to shape entire markets, but the question is, should they? The bigger issue with Musk's unchecked influence isn't just about apps or electric cars. It's about the way he interacts with the world and the power he holds. Musk's chaotic approach to leadership, his often controversial statements, and his tendency to stir the pot make him a polarizing figure. Some view him as a genius, someone who's pushing humanity forward in ways no one else can. But others see him as reckless, a billionaire whose whims can have real-world consequences for millions of people. What's fascinating is that Musk has cultivated this almost godlike persona. His fans, often referred to as the cult of Musk, are some of the most loyal you'll find. To them, he's a visionary, someone who can do no wrong. They point to his achievements in electric vehicles, space exploration, and renewable energy as evidence that he's a force for good. But when you peel back the layers, you start to see a more complicated picture. Musk's ambition, while admirable, is often paired with an arrogance that can lead to missteps that affect real people. Take, for example, his handling of the pandemic. While most people were scrambling to understand the virus and follow public health guidelines, Musk was downplaying the severity of COVID-19, calling panic over the virus dumb, and spreading misinformation about its dangers. He even reopened Tesla's Fremont factory in violation of local health orders. This type of behavior raises serious questions about the responsibility that comes with the kind of power Musk wields. When someone with that much influence decides to ignore science and expert advice, the consequences can be dire. And it's not just the pandemic. Musk has also come under fire for his dismissive attitude toward regulation and oversight. From downplaying the environmental impact of his companies to criticizing union efforts, Musk has often positioned himself as someone above the rules. He once said, "I don't play the rules game, I change the rules." That's a mindset that can lead to innovation, but it can also lead to ethical concerns about the consequences of Musk's actions. So, who is Elon Musk really? Is he a hero, a villain, a genius? The truth is, he's a mix of all these things. Musk's ambitions have undeniably pushed humanity forward in ways that were previously thought impossible. He's challenged industries, governments, and societal norms. But at the same time, his actions and words have often caused more harm than good. Whether it's the lives of his workers, the markets he can manipulate with a tweet, or the public health crises he downplays, Musk's influence is as dangerous as it is revolutionary. As we continue to watch Musk's rise, one thing is clear: his impact on the world isn't going away anytime soon. But maybe that's exactly why we need to keep asking the tough questions. How much power is too much for one man to hold? And how much influence are we willing to give him? Now here's where the real question comes in. What do you think? Is Elon Musk a visionary whose influence we should trust to shape our future? Or is he a reckless force whose unchecked power is leading us down a dangerous path? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start the conversation. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because there's a lot more to uncover about the figures who are shaping our world today.
He refused to accept the Fields Medal, which is the greatest honor a mathematician can have. It's even higher than the Nobel Prize.
He was disappointed by the response of the community, the mathematicians, to his earlier work, where they dismissed it and didn't treat him with proper respect because he was not considered one of them.
Imagine cracking a mathematical code so complex that it eluded the brightest minds for a century. You earn the right to claim a $1 million prize, global fame, and the highest honor in your field. But instead of stepping into the spotlight, you vanish. Leaving the world to wonder, why would anyone walk away from such incredible achievements? This is the baffling tale of Grigory Perelman, the mathematician who solved the unsolvable and then disappeared. In the year 2000, the Clay Mathematics Institute issued a monumental challenge to the world's greatest mathematicians: solve any of the 7 Millennium Prize problems and earn $1 million, alongside the respect and admiration of the entire scientific community. These problems were not just theoretical exercises, they were key to understanding the very foundations of mathematics, physics, and even our universe. Among them was the Poincaré conjecture, a problem posed by French mathematician Henri Poincaré in 1904. It sought to answer a deceptively simple-sounding question about the nature of three-dimensional spaces. If every loop in a given space can be shrunk down to a point without cutting the space, is that space essentially a three-dimensional sphere? This wasn't just abstract theory. The Poincaré conjecture had deep implications for our understanding of the universe itself. If proven, it would confirm that our universe on a large scale might be shaped like a three-dimensional sphere, a mind-boggling concept with ramifications for cosmology, quantum physics, and beyond. For nearly a century, mathematicians tried and failed to prove the conjecture. Some of the greatest mathematical minds of the 20th century threw everything they had at it, only to come up short. Enter Grigory Perelman, a man as enigmatic as the problem he would eventually solve. Born in 1966 in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, Russia, Perelman was recognized as a prodigy from an early age. His mother, a mathematician herself, nurtured his talent, ensuring that he attended the best schools in the Soviet Union. By the time he was a teenager, Perelman's abilities were beyond exceptional. At 16, he won a gold medal with a perfect score in the International Mathematical Olympiad. But unlike other prodigies who might bask in the attention, Perelman was different. He was intensely private, introverted, and driven by an almost monastic dedication to mathematics. After completing his undergraduate studies at Leningrad State University, Perelman continued his education at the prestigious Steklov Institute of Mathematics. His work quickly caught the attention of top mathematicians around the world. He was invited to the United States to conduct postdoctoral research at several leading institutions, including the Current Institute at New York University and the University of California, Berkeley. Here, he was introduced to some of the most advanced and complex problems in mathematics, further honing his already formidable skills. For Perelman, mathematics wasn't a career, it was a calling. By the late 1990s, Perelman had returned to Russia, where he resumed his work at the Steklov Institute. He largely retreated from the international mathematics community, preferring to work in isolation. During this time, he turned his attention to one of the most elusive challenges in mathematics, the Poincaré conjecture. American mathematician Richard Hamilton had made significant progress toward solving the conjecture in the 1980s, developing a mathematical technique known as Ricci flow, which could be used to analyze the shape of three-dimensional spaces over time. However, Hamilton's work, though groundbreaking, wasn't enough to crack the Poincaré conjecture. The problem still lacked a crucial piece, an insight that would connect all the dots. Perelman, working alone in St. Petersburg, found that missing piece. In November 2002, without any prior announcement, Perelman published the first of 3 papers on arXiv, an open-access repository for scientific papers. These papers were dense, complex, and revolutionary. Perelman had not only solved the Poincaré conjecture, he had introduced new mathematical concepts that would have a lasting impact on the field. His work didn't just solve an old problem, it opened new avenues of thought, offering tools and ideas that would influence future generations of mathematicians. The mathematical community was stunned. For decades, the Poincaré conjecture had stood as an insurmountable challenge. Now, suddenly, a solution had appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. Over the next few years, teams of mathematicians scrutinized Perelman's proof, searching for any errors or gaps, but they found none. By 2006, it was universally accepted that Perelman had indeed solved the Poincaré conjecture. His proof was elegant, yet extraordinarily complex, a testament to his profound understanding of geometry and topology. This achievement was nothing short of historic. Perelman had accomplished what many had believed was impossible. He was awarded the Fields Medal, the most prestigious prize in mathematics, often likened to the Nobel Prize. But in a move that shocked the world, Perelman declined the award. "I do not want to be on display like an animal in a zoo," Perelman said, rejecting the Fields Medal. And that wasn't all. When the Clay Mathematics Institute offered him the $1 million prize for solving the Poincaré conjecture, Perelman also turned it down. His reasoning was simple. He didn't care about the money. He had solved the problem for the sake of knowledge, not for material gain or recognition. To him, the true reward was the solution itself, a solution that had eluded humanity for so long. In a rare interview with a Russian newspaper, Perelman expressed deep disillusionment with the mathematics community, criticizing the way it was driven by competition, ego, and self-promotion. He had no interest in becoming a public figure or in receiving accolades for his work. His disdain for the limelight was as strong as his love for mathematics. Instead, Perelman withdrew even further from public life. In 2005, he resigned from his position at the Steklov Institute, effectively cutting his last formal ties with the mathematical world. Since then, he has lived in near total isolation, reportedly residing in a modest apartment in St. Petersburg with his mother. He has refused all interview requests and has not published any new work. His silence has only added to his mystique, turning him into a figure of almost mythical proportions in the mathematical community. Perelman's story is not just about mathematics, it's a meditation on the meaning of life itself. In a world where so much value is placed on wealth and fame, Perelman's actions seem almost incomprehensible, yet they offer a profound commentary on what truly matters in the quest for knowledge. Unlike many who chase after material success or public recognition, Perelman seems to have been driven purely by the desire to understand the mysteries of the universe. His rejection of fame and fortune can be seen as a statement that true fulfillment lies not in external validation, but in the internal satisfaction of having pursued and achieved something of profound significance. But Perelman's story is also a cautionary tale about the isolation that can come with such a singular focus. His decision to withdraw from public life raises questions about the cost of genius. Is it possible that the very qualities that enabled him to solve one of the most difficult problems in mathematics also alienated him from the world around him? In seeking to understand the universe, did Perelman lose something essential about what it means to be human? These questions are, of course, speculative. Perelman himself has offered little insight into his motivations or feelings. His few public statements suggest a man who is deeply disillusioned with the world of professional mathematics, but offer little clue as to how he views his place in the broader human story. What we do stand the test of time remains an enigma. In the end, Grigory Perelman's story is about more than just the solution to a century-old mathematical problem. It is a story that touches on the deepest questions of human existence. What is the purpose of knowledge? What does it mean to lead a successful life? And how do we reconcile the pursuit of truth with the complexities of the human condition? Perelman may never re-emerge from his self-imposed isolation, and we may never fully understand the reasons behind his choices. But his legacy will continue to spark curiosity, admiration, and reflection for generations to come. He solved the unsolvable, only to disappear, leaving behind a mystery as profound as the one he unraveled. If you found this story of Grigory Perelman intriguing, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the lives of extraordinary minds. Let us know in the comments what you think drove Perelman to walk away from it all: fame, fortune, and recognition. And if there's another enigmatic figure you'd like us to explore, drop their name in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
was looking to build things and was willing to push very hard to do it.
Get it? Life-o-med, death-o-med.
John Kapoor wasn't your typical billionaire. His wealth came not from the tech world or luxury real estate, but from something far more controversial: pain relief, or as many now see it, pain exploitation. He built his fortune through Insys Therapeutics, a pharmaceutical company that created Subsys, a fentanyl-based painkiller. But this drug, originally intended for cancer patients, quickly became the center of a scandal. Kapoor's rise to power and subsequent fall from grace is a tale of greed, deception, and a willingness to gamble with human lives for profit. Insys Therapeutics introduced Subsys as a last resort painkiller, meant for cancer patients suffering from severe, unbearable pain. At face value, it seemed like a product that could offer much-needed relief to those most in need. But Kapoor and his team had much grander ambitions, and the pursuit of profit would soon overshadow any intent to help patients. The plan was not to merely serve a small niche of cancer patients, but to expand the market by targeting far more patients than originally intended. And that's when the trouble began. The aggressive marketing strategy that Kapoor implemented was designed to push Subsys beyond its intended use. Kapoor's marketing team developed a notorious system of speaker programs that masqueraded as educational events for doctors. These programs were supposed to spread awareness about Subsys and its benefits, but in reality, they were nothing more than elaborate schemes to pay doctors thousands of dollars to write more prescriptions. The more Subsys a doctor prescribed, the more money they received, regardless of whether or not their patients needed such a strong opioid. These speaker programs were critical to expanding the reach of Subsys far beyond the small group of patients who actually needed it. Often, the programs didn't even take place. Doctors were simply paid for the prescriptions they wrote, many of which were for patients with no history of cancer or extreme pain. The line between healthcare and corporate profit became dangerously blurred. Under Kapoor's leadership, Insys turned a life-saving medication into a money-making machine, one that preyed on vulnerable patients while filling the pockets of healthcare providers who played along. But Kapoor's manipulation didn't stop with doctors. The company also went to extreme lengths to deceive insurance companies into approving Subsys prescriptions for patients who didn't meet the criteria. Insys employees were trained to lie to insurance companies, telling them that patients had cancer when they didn't. This allowed them to get Subsys approved for patients who should have never been given such a powerful opioid. The company developed scripts and tactics to fool insurance providers, ensuring that Subsys was paid for, even when it wasn't necessary or appropriate. Kapoor's insidious marketing strategy had real and devastating consequences. People who trusted their doctors were prescribed a drug they didn't need, one that came with the risk of addiction, overdose, and death. The stories of victims like Rodney Moreau and Paul Lara illustrate the devastating impact of Kapoor's greed. Rodney Moreau wasn't a cancer patient, yet he was prescribed Subsys for pain management. What started as a treatment for his discomfort quickly spiraled into addiction, an all too common outcome for those given powerful opioids unnecessarily. Similarly, Paul Lara, a military veteran dealing with back pain, found himself entangled in the web of Subsys. Prescribed the drug as a solution to his pain, he became dependent on it, unable to break free from its hold. His life, like many others, was derailed not by the pain he was trying to manage, but by the drug he was given to treat it. These stories are just a fraction of the larger epidemic created by Kapoor's relentless pursuit of profit at any cost. As the opioid crisis reached critical levels, it became increasingly clear that something was wrong with how Subsys was being marketed and prescribed. Investigations began to uncover the disturbing truth behind Insys's practices. Slowly but surely, the full extent of Kapoor's scheme came to light. What had started as whispers of unethical behavior evolved into one of the most infamous pharmaceutical scandals in history. The US government stepped in, determined to hold Kapoor and his company accountable. Throughout the trial, Kapoor maintained that he was unaware of the specific tactics being used to market Subsys. He claimed that the deceitful practices employed by his marketing team were done without his knowledge. But the evidence told a different story. Internal communications, testimonies from former employees, and financial records revealed Kapoor's direct involvement. He wasn't just a passive figurehead. He was the driving force behind the manipulative marketing strategies that put Subsys into the hands of patients who didn't need it. During the trial, the prosecution painted a clear picture of Kapoor as the mastermind behind the operation. The scheme to bribe doctors, deceive insurance companies, and push subsidies onto vulnerable patients was no accident. It was a calculated strategy orchestrated by Kapoor himself, all in the name of maximizing profits. In 2019, Kapoor was convicted of racketeering conspiracy, a charge typically reserved for organized crime rings. It was a fitting conclusion for a man who had turned his pharmaceutical company into a machine of exploitation. Kapoor's conviction was a watershed moment in the ongoing battle against the opioid crisis. His downfall sent a message to the pharmaceutical industry. The days of unchecked greed and deception would not go unpunished. But for the victims, the damage had already been done. The opioid crisis had claimed thousands of lives by the time Kapoor was brought to justice, and the ripple effects of his actions continue to be felt across the country. Rodney Moreau, Paul Lara, and countless others were left to pick up the pieces of their lives after falling victim to Kapoor's scheme. Families were torn apart, and communities were ravaged by addiction and overdose. The human cost of Kapoor's greed is immeasurable, a sobering reminder of how corporate profit can come at the expense of human lives. Kapoor's legacy is one of scandal and betrayal. On paper, he built a billion-dollar empire, an achievement that many would envy. But that empire was built on lies, manipulation, and the exploitation of some of society's most vulnerable individuals. Even with Kapoor behind bars, the opioid crisis continues to rage on. Millions of Americans are still grappling with the devastating effects of addiction, a direct result of the reckless practices employed by companies like Insys. Kapoor's conviction may have been a victory for justice, but it's only one step in the much larger fight to hold the pharmaceutical industry accountable for its role in fueling the opioid epidemic. As we reflect on Kapoor's rise and fall, we're left with a critical question. How many other John Kapoors are out there, operating in the shadows, exploiting the system for their own gain? The Insys scandal has become a symbol of the urgent need for reform within the pharmaceutical industry. Kapoor's story should serve as a cautionary tale for all of us. It's a reminder that even in industries designed to heal and help, there are those who will exploit the most vulnerable for financial gain. It's up to regulators, lawmakers, and the public to ensure that the lessons of the Insys scandal are not forgotten and that future billionaires like Kapoor are held accountable before more lives are lost. Kapoor may have been one man, but the impact of his actions reverberates across the nation. His conviction is a victory, yes, but it's a bittersweet one. For every person who fell victim to subsys, for every family who lost a loved one to opioid addiction, the damage is irreparable. Kapoor's legacy will forever be stained by the lives he ruined in his pursuit of wealth. If this story of corporate greed and its devastating consequences resonates with you, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that matter. Let us know in the comments what you think about the pharmaceutical industry's role in the opioid crisis and whether enough is being done to hold those responsible accountable. Thanks for watching.
So you're going to show me that Satoshi Nakamoto is you?
Yes. There's strong evidence pointing to certain people who may be Satoshi Nakamoto, but ultimately nothing definitively conclusive.
Who created Bitcoin? The world's first decentralized cryptocurrency that disrupted global finance. Yet the creator remains in the shadows. The name Satoshi Nakamoto might ring a bell, but the real identity behind this name is one of the biggest mysteries of the 21st century. Today we dive deep into the enigma, who is Satoshi Nakamoto and where is he now? In 2008, at the height of a global financial crisis, a white paper appeared online titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It was written by someone, or perhaps a group, under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. This paper laid out the blueprint for what we now know as Bitcoin, a digital currency free from the control of governments and banks. Less than 3 months later, in January 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto mined the first ever Bitcoin block, known as the Genesis block. A revolution in financial technology had begun. But who was behind this breakthrough? Who was Satoshi Nakamoto? Since Bitcoin's inception, countless theories have emerged about Nakamoto's true identity. Some believe he was a lone genius programmer. Others suggest it was a team of developers. Over the years, several names have surfaced as possible candidates, but none have been conclusively proven. Hal Finney, one of the earliest Bitcoin users and a renowned cryptographer. Some suggest he may have been the real Satoshi or at least closely involved. Nick Szabo, a computer scientist who created BitGold, a precursor to Bitcoin. His work on decentralized currencies has led many to suspect he could be Nakamoto. Dorian Nakamoto, a Japanese-American man whose name is coincidentally Satoshi Nakamoto. Although he denied any involvement, a media frenzy erupted after a journalist suggested he might be the creator of Bitcoin. Craig Wright, an Australian businessman who publicly claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto. His bold claim was met with skepticism and controversy, and he has yet to provide definitive proof. Yet despite these high-profile suspects, the real identity of Satoshi Nakamoto remains elusive. In April 2011, after 2 years of guiding Bitcoin's development, Satoshi Nakamoto sent his final email to a developer. In it, he said, "I've moved on to other things." Just like that, he vanished. No more emails, no more forum posts. Satoshi Nakamoto left behind a legacy, but took his true identity with him. Despite Bitcoin's meteoric rise, Satoshi has never resurfaced. The address associated with Nakamoto's Bitcoin holdings contains about 1 million BTC, worth billions today, but none of it has ever been touched. Why? Is Nakamoto hiding in plain sight, or is he truly gone? Many speculate that Satoshi Nakamoto might be alive and monitoring Bitcoin's progress from the shadows. Some believe Nakamoto's silence is intentional, to maintain Bitcoin's decentralized nature. Others suggest more dramatic possibilities. Could Nakamoto be dead? Could his vast Bitcoin fortune be lost forever? Whether he's hiding for privacy reasons, fear of legal implications, or has simply passed away, one thing is clear. Satoshi Nakamoto's disappearance has only fueled the intrigue surrounding Bitcoin. While we may never know Satoshi Nakamoto's true identity, the impact of his creation is undeniable. Bitcoin has become a multi-trillion-dollar asset, sparking a cryptocurrency revolution that has shaken the foundations of traditional finance. From Bitcoin billionaires to blockchain technology transforming industries, Nakamoto's vision of a decentralized financial system has come to life. The question remains, does Satoshi Nakamoto watch the legacy he created from afar, or has he truly left the world behind? So, what do you think? Is Satoshi Nakamoto a lone genius hiding in plain sight, or is his identity lost to time? Could his fortune, worth billions, ever be claimed? Let us know your theories in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by the mysteries of technology, finance, and cryptocurrency, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll keep uncovering the hidden stories behind the headlines.
Is that part of the work going on at CERN is to learn how to create stable wormholes. What Einstein and Rosen called an Einstein-Rosen bridge, where you take space and you fold it and make a hole, punch a hole in between to make a connection, a shortcut through space-time.
Imagine if our three-dimensional existence is merely a fragment of a much larger, stranger reality. What if everything we perceive is just one layer of a multi-dimensional universe, extending far beyond our comprehension? Now, envision a secretive scientific organization probing this hidden reality, potentially unlocking or unleashing forces that could forever change our understanding of space, time, and existence itself. Billy Carson delves into this very possibility as he discusses CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. Carson suggests that CERN's experiments might be about more than just smashing particles together to discover new physics. They could be probing the very fabric of the universe, possibly even creating portals to other dimensions. Even more chilling, Carson theorizes that the knowledge we're uncovering may not be new at all. Our ancient ancestors might have known about these other dimensions and how to access them. As the founder of Forbidden Knowledge, Carson elaborates on the discovery of X-points, or magnetic portals, naturally occurring phenomena that connect Earth's magnetic field with the sun's. These portals create pathways between our planet and the sun's atmosphere, allowing particles to travel at incredible speeds. Carson emphasizes that NASA has known about these portals for some time, yet they remain largely out of public discussion. The significance of these X-points goes beyond scientific curiosity. They could potentially be harnessed for something extraordinary, like portal travel. While the concept of stable wormholes supported by exotic matter is grounded in theoretical physics, it remains highly speculative and unproven. Carson takes it a step further, linking these ideas to ancient symbols like the Jed pillar and the Ankh. To the untrained eye, these Egyptian symbols might represent life and rebirth, but Carson suggests they were high-tech tools, keys that allowed certain individuals to pass through portals. According to Carson, these portals weren't accessible to just anyone. He posits that only the elite, perhaps the gods or high-ranking officials, knew the secrets of how to tune their atomic frequency to match the portal's code. Imagine a technology so advanced that it could alter a person's atomic structure, enabling them to walk through walls or travel vast distances in the blink of an eye.
You take two beams of protons, accelerate them in opposite directions, and collide them with each other. What would happen if you put a brick on the ground and threw another one on top of it? Most likely, small fragments would fly off in different directions.
One of the most intriguing aspects of Carson's discussion is the possibility of using magnetic diffusion points, the X points, as a means for interplanetary or even interstellar travel. While this might sound like science fiction, Carson suggests it is within the realm of possibility. The challenge lies in creating and maintaining a stable wormhole for such travel. Carson also explores the potential of these portals as gateways to entirely different realms of existence, possibly inhabited by beings or entities operating on frequencies beyond our current understanding. The notion that such entities could have influenced ancient civilizations or even shaped human history adds another layer of intrigue. If these portals exist and can be opened or controlled, what could this mean for our understanding of life, consciousness, and reality itself? He further speculates that these portals might enable communication with beings from other dimensions. Carson theorizes that these entities might possess knowledge far beyond our own, and accessing such information could dramatically alter our civilization. Various ancient cultures have myths of gods or higher beings imparting wisdom to humanity. Could these stories be accounts of actual events where ancient humans accessed these portals?
We can observe only 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. It's not possible for us to observe higher dimensions, as higher dimensions are compactified or curled up.
Carson then delves into the concept of higher dimensions, a notion that might initially seem impossible to grasp. We live in a 3-dimensional world, but what if there's more? According to Carson, there could be up to 11 dimensions, as some mathematical theories suggest. And our ancestors, he believes, were aware of these dimensions. He uses the analogy of bubbles in a vast space, each bubble representing an entire universe. We live on the surface of a 3-dimensional bubble, but there could be many more dimensions within this larger space. These bubbles can interact, potentially causing events like the Big Bang. The idea that our universe is just one of many within a multi-dimensional space is mind-boggling. If these higher dimensions exist, what's in them? Carson suggests that beings from these dimensions might be able to enter our world by tuning into our frequency. It's a concept that aligns with certain ancient beliefs, where higher beings or gods could move between realms. And what if CERN's experiments are attempting to tap into these higher dimensions, possibly opening portals to these other worlds? Carson also touches on the Blue Brain Project, which has discovered that our brains might be capable of thinking in 11 dimensions. When our brain processes information, it creates complex neural structures that could theoretically operate across multiple dimensions. This suggests that before anything manifests in our physical world, it might start as a multidimensional idea. Imagine that every thought, every creative spark, originates from a space beyond our 3-dimensional reality. This brings us back to the role of frequencies. Carson explains that everything in the universe vibrates at its own frequency, including these different dimensions. To access another dimension, one would need to match its frequency. It's a concept explored in various spiritual teachings, where raising one's frequency is said to open the door to higher states of consciousness. If true, dimensions might be accessible not just through technology, but also through the mind. The idea of portal travel becomes even more fascinating when considering that natural portals might already exist on Earth. Carson suggests that ancient texts might hold the key to understanding how these portals work and how to access them. It's a tantalizing thought. What if our ancestors were more advanced than we've imagined, not just technologically, but also spiritually? They might have known how to raise their frequencies, allowing them to access these portals and travel between worlds. But what about CERN? What's the connection between this ancient knowledge and today's experiments? Carson speculates that CERN's work might be an attempt to rediscover or recreate these ancient technologies. The Large Hadron Collider is known for accelerating particles to near-light speeds, but what if these experiments are also creating microscopic black holes, tiny portals that could connect to other dimensions? While these discoveries are exciting, Carson warns they're also potentially dangerous. Opening a portal to another dimension might sound thrilling, but what if we're not prepared for what's on the other side? The concept of exotic matter is still largely theoretical, and its effects are not fully understood. Could we accidentally unleash something we can't control? It's a scenario often seen in science fiction, but Carson suggests it's a real possibility. As Carson concludes, he encourages us to take these ideas seriously. He emphasizes the importance of understanding the unity and harmony of the 11th dimension, a dimension that might hold the key to everything. If we can learn to raise our frequencies, we might access these higher dimensions, unlocking new knowledge and potential. But we must proceed with caution. The pursuit of this knowledge could lead to incredible discoveries, but it could also open doors that were never meant to be opened. If you found Billy Carson's theories as intriguing as I did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the unknown. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the possibilities of portal travel? Could there be more to CERN's experiments than meets the eye? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know what other mysteries you'd like us to explore. Stay curious, because the universe is far stranger than we ever imagined.
Well, surely every true statement has a proof. But Gödel showed that actually there's a gap between truth and proof.
Kurt Gödel, one of the most brilliant mathematicians of the 20th century, forever changed our understanding of logic and mathematics. His groundbreaking discovery, the incompleteness theorem, revealed something astonishing. No mathematical system can ever be truly complete or fully self-sufficient. This shook the foundations of math, proving that certain truths will always lie beyond our reach. Yet despite this monumental achievement, Gödel himself was plagued by self-doubt and paranoia. In this video, we'll explore the life and legacy of Kurt Gödel, the man who discovered math's greatest mystery, and why he never believed it was enough. Born on April 28, 1906 in Brunn, now known as Brno in the Czech Republic, Kurt Gödel's upbringing was one of privilege. His father ran a successful textile business, providing young Kurt with a stable and comfortable life. Even as a child, Gödel was known for his insatiable curiosity. His family nicknamed him Mr. Y because he constantly asked questions about everything. This constant questioning would later define his approach to mathematics and logic, driving him to seek deeper truths. Gödel excelled in school, although ironically he didn't start out as a standout in math. He earned high marks in all subjects, but his grade in math was merely good rather than excellent. Nevertheless, his fascination with the logical structure of the world grew, and his early love of physics shifted toward mathematics once he entered the University of Vienna. It was there, surrounded by like-minded intellectuals, that Gödel's true potential began to unfold. Initially, Gödel enrolled to study physics, but fate had other plans for him. He encountered Philipp Furtwängler, a renowned mathematics professor who lectured from a wheelchair due to a severe disability. Despite Furtwängler's physical limitations, his intellectual charisma was enough to inspire Gödel to switch his focus to pure mathematics. Gödel quickly found himself at home in the world of abstract reasoning and logic, where he thrived on solving complex problems and challenging established norms. At the University of Vienna, Gödel became a part of the Vienna Circle, a group of philosophers and mathematicians dedicated to logical positivism. This group believed that only empirical verification or logical proof could establish truth. However, Gödel wasn't content with these rigid ideas. His desire to question and push beyond the conventional thinking of his peers would lead him to his greatest discovery, one that would shake the very foundation of mathematics and turn the world of logic upside down. In 1930, at just 24 years old, Gödel made an announcement that would change the course of mathematical history. He revealed his incompleteness theorem, a discovery so profound that it shook the foundations of mathematics and logic. To understand this groundbreaking theorem, let's start with a simple analogy, the liar paradox. Imagine someone saying this statement is false. If the statement is true, then it must be false because that's what it claims. But if it's false, then it must be true. This paradox illustrates a self-referential loop that creates a contradiction. Similarly, Gödel's incompleteness theorem showed that within any formal mathematical system, there will always be true statements that cannot be proven using the system's rules. In essence, there are limits to what can be proven in mathematics. Even with the most advanced logical tools, some truths remain beyond reach. Gödel's theorem was a revelation. Until then, mathematicians had believed that any mathematical problem could eventually be solved with the right tools and logical steps. But Gödel proved that this was not the case. There would always be questions that could be asked within a system of mathematics that the system itself could never answer. His theorem applies to any formal system capable of expressing basic arithmetic, essentially every logical system mathematicians had developed at that time. The response to Gödel's discovery was immediate and intense. Mathematicians across the world realized that Gödel had revealed a fundamental limitation of mathematics itself. John von Neumann, one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century, immediately recognized the significance of Gödel's theorem. He later described it as a landmark that will remain visible far in space and time. Gödel's proof was considered a masterpiece of mathematical ingenuity. It wasn't just the result that was awe-inspiring, but the way he arrived at it. Author Stephen Budiansky, who wrote a biography of Gödel, described the proof as having the same beauty and complexity as a musical fugue by Bach, where different elements come together in perfect harmony. Yet not everyone welcomed Gödel's discovery. His theorem directly contradicted the beliefs of David Hilbert, a leading mathematician of the time, who had famously declared, "In mathematics, there is nothing unknowable." Gödel had shown that some things would always remain unknowable, even in the most precise of fields, mathematics. Despite his monumental achievement, Gödel's personal life was fraught with challenges. He struggled with mental health issues for most of his life, including severe depression and paranoia. The political turmoil in Austria following the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the rise of Nazism only worsened his mental state. Gödel's depression became so severe that he often feared he would become violent. His mother, concerned for her safety, would lock her bedroom door at night. His girlfriend Adele, who later became his wife, became his lifeline during these dark times. She would even take the first bite of his food to convince him it wasn't poisoned, a testament to how deep his paranoia ran. One of the most devastating blows to Gödel's mental health came in 1936, when his mentor, Moritz Schlick, was murdered by a deranged student. The rise of Nazism in Austria made Gödel's situation even more precarious. While many of his colleagues fled to America, Gödel hesitated, still hoping to secure a permanent position at the University of Vienna. However, the political environment was becoming increasingly dangerous, and Gödel eventually realized he had to leave. In 1940, Gödel and his wife Adele fled to America, where he was offered a position at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. The institute was a haven for brilliant minds like Albert Einstein, John von Neumann, and Gödel himself. Here, scholars were free to pursue their research without the burden of teaching. Gödel's relationship with Albert Einstein became legendary. Einstein admired Gödel's intellect deeply, and the two would often walk home together from the institute. Einstein once remarked that I go to the office just to walk home with Gödel. However, despite the intellectual freedom and security that Princeton offered, Gödel's mental health continued to deteriorate. He believed that his later work, including his proof of the generalized consistency of the continuum hypothesis, fell short of his earlier achievements. His feelings of inadequacy persisted throughout his life. In his later years, Gödel's paranoia took over. He refused necessary medical treatments, believing that doctors were trying to harm him. When his wife Adele was hospitalized for several months, Gödel, left to his own devices, slowly starved himself to death, convinced that his food was being poisoned. He passed away on January 14, 1978, weighing just 65 pounds. Despite his tragic end, Gödel's legacy lives on. His incompleteness theorem remains one of the most profound discoveries in the history of mathematics. It not only transformed how we understand mathematical systems, but also revealed a deep truth about the limits of knowledge itself. Gödel showed us that even in the world of pure logic, there are mysteries that will forever remain beyond our grasp. Kurt Gödel's life was a paradox in itself, a man who uncovered math's greatest mystery, yet could never shake his own feelings of inadequacy. His incompleteness theorem changed the way we see mathematics, revealing that no system, no matter how advanced, can ever be truly complete. While Gödel may have felt like a failure, his work has left an indelible mark on both mathematics and philosophy, reminding us that even the most brilliant minds are not immune to the complexities of the human condition. If you're fascinated by the genius of Kurt Gödel and want to explore more groundbreaking discoveries like his, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like and share to help spread the story of math's greatest mystery.
Max's story started the other way around. He began his career identifying security threats for the FBI, but the lure of the underground world proved irresistible. Max ran one of the largest black markets for stolen credit cards, where millions quietly changed hands.
Max Butler's story is something straight out of a tech crime thriller. A kid from small-town America with a passion for computers ends up ruling the criminal underworld of the internet. He wasn't just some faceless hacker hiding behind a screen. Max was a mastermind who orchestrated one of the most sophisticated cybercrime operations the world has ever seen. But how did he go from a curious, bright kid to becoming a notorious hacker who took over the internet's criminal empire? Let's take a deeper dive into his life, from his early days in Idaho to his partnership with Chris Aragon and his ultimate downfall.
Max grew up in Boise, Idaho, where his father's computer shop exposed him to a world where computers were rapidly taking off in the 1980s.
Max grew up in Meridian, Idaho, where life was pretty simple. But Max was different. While other kids were busy playing football or hanging out at the mall, Max was spending hours in front of his computer, completely consumed by the digital world. His fascination with computers wasn't just about gaming or browsing. He wanted to understand how things worked at a deeper level. He wanted to explore how far he could push his skills. It wasn't long before he discovered hacking, and it quickly became an obsession. "From the moment I started learning to code, I was hooked," Max once said in an interview, years after his arrest. "I didn't care about anything else, just figuring out how far I could push the limits of technology." According to the book Kingpin by Kevin Poulsen, Max wasn't just a smart kid. He was driven by an intense curiosity about how things worked. From his early years, Max showed a keen interest in breaking apart electronic gadgets, just to figure out how they operated. He wasn't satisfied with merely using technology. He wanted to know what made it tick. It was this relentless pursuit of understanding that would set the stage for his future in hacking. His mind was always working, always searching for a way to break the system, to figure out the flaws, and to outsmart the rules. As Max got older, his skills became more refined. He wasn't just hacking for fun anymore. He was doing it for the thrill of control. He wanted to prove that no system was beyond his reach. In the 90s, Max started working as a white hat hacker, which means he was using his skills to help companies protect their systems from cyber attacks. For a time, he even worked with the FBI, advising them on how to strengthen their networks. It's wild to think about it now, but Max Butler was once on the side of the law. His expertise in finding vulnerabilities and fixing them was invaluable. But there was always that little voice in his head, the one that whispered, "You could do more, you could take control." And that's exactly what he did. By the mid-90s, Max couldn't resist the temptation any longer. He started hacking government systems, not for money or fame, but simply because he could. It was a game to him, a game of cat and mouse, where he was always one step ahead of the authorities. But of course, the law eventually caught up. Max was arrested and sentenced to 18 months in prison for hacking into government servers. You'd think that would have been the wake-up call, right? Time to go straight, do the right thing, maybe start working with tech companies again. But no, prison didn't reform Max. It only fueled his desire for more power. Prison gave Max time to think, but instead of thinking about how to leave his hacking life behind, he began plotting his next move. It's often said that jail either breaks you or makes you stronger, and for Max, it was the latter. He came out of prison with a new perspective and a dangerous ambition. He had tasted power before, and now he wanted even more. Max was more determined than ever. That's when he met Chris Aragon, a credit card fraudster who saw the potential in Max's abilities. The two formed a powerful partnership. Chris was already running scams, but Max had the skills to take things to the next level. They didn't just steal credit card data, they created an entire underground economy based on it. It was a match made in criminal heaven. Chris Aragon, though less well known, played a key role in their criminal empire. He was street smart and knew how to exploit the system. Max once said that partnering with Chris was like unlocking the final level of the game. Chris had a network, and Max had the brains to make it all run smoothly. They expanded their operation rapidly, making themselves untouchable, or so they thought. Max and Chris didn't just run a small-time credit card scam. They orchestrated one of the largest cybercrime operations of their era. They hacked into databases and sold the information on the black market, making millions in the process. The duo operated like the CEOs of a Fortune 500 company, but instead of selling products, they were selling stolen identities. It's estimated that their operation affected hundreds of thousands of victims, causing untold damage. But that wasn't enough for Max. In 2005, he created Carter's Market, a forum where cybercriminals could buy and sell stolen credit card data. It was like the Amazon of illegal transactions. Max ran the show. He set the rules, decided who could join, and made sure that the market ran smoothly. At its peak, Carter's Market was responsible for over 2/3 of the world's trade in stolen credit card data. Just imagine that. 2/3 of the global black market for credit cards was controlled by one guy. That's insane. But for Max, it wasn't just about the money. He was addicted to the power. "I didn't care about being rich," Max once said. "I just wanted to be the best." And for a while, he was. Max was at the top of his game. Carter's Market was thriving, and he was the king of the underground hacking world. But his ego would eventually be his downfall. Max started getting cocky. He didn't just want to run Carter's Market. He wanted to prove he was untouchable. In one of his most audacious moves, Max tried to hack into the FBI's systems. Yes, the same FBI he had once worked with. It was like a challenge to them. "I felt invincible," Max later admitted. "I thought I could outsmart anyone." But as they say, pride comes before the fall.
Apartment, guns drawn. Although Max's computers were all encrypted,
The FBI had been watching Max for years, quietly gathering evidence. They knew they couldn't rush things. They needed to catch him in the act. And in 2007, they did just that. The FBI raided his home, seized his computers, and arrested him on multiple charges, including conspiracy, fraud, and identity theft. In 2010, Max was sentenced to 13 years in prison, the longest sentence ever given for cybercrime at the time. But what makes Max's story even more fascinating is how he viewed himself. In his mind, he wasn't a criminal. He was a revolutionary. "I thought I was changing the game," he said in an interview from prison. "I didn't see it as crime. I saw it as showing the world how flawed the system was." And in a way, he did. Max's hacks exposed vulnerabilities that no one had even considered before. The tools and techniques he developed are still being used by hackers today. He became a sort of legend in the cybercrime world, a figure that future hackers look up to. But Max's story is also a cautionary tale. No matter how smart or powerful you think you are, there's always someone watching, waiting for you to slip up. And for Max, that slip-up cost him everything. His ambition and need for control led him down a path of no return. He had it all for a while: the power, the money, the influence. But in the end, it wasn't enough. Even though Max's legacy in the hacker world is cemented, his downfall is a reminder that ego can destroy even the most brilliant minds. The very thing that made Max great, his desire to push boundaries and prove the impossible, was what ultimately led him to ruin. His story is both a testament to the power of human ingenuity and a warning about the consequences of unchecked ambition. In Max's own words, "I didn't set out to be a villain. I just wanted to prove what was possible." He may have proved it, but at a cost that most of us wouldn't be willing to pay. If you found Max's story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to hear more insane stories about the world of cybercrime, technology, and the hidden digital underworld, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got plenty more jaw-dropping stories coming your way, and trust me, you won't want to miss them.